First, want to thank the friends who surprised me by showing up today and the family who were here, especially my wonderful husband, Anthony, who supported me through 2 rounds of Bank Street obsession, first as a graduate student and then as a graduate faculty advisor. And my Bank Street classmates and teachers, many of whom are here this evening and who became colleagues, and several were fellow travelers on long trips to New Orleans and Cuba. I see some of you in the audience. In particular, I'd like to thank Sal Vassalero, who was my advisor when I first started teaching children 30 years ago and have continued to love teaching children ever since. And Stan Chu, who was my advisor when I joined the graduate faculty. Stan introduced me to the fast lane, as he called it, of teacher education, and I've been traveling that fast lane ever since, but never with as cool a mentor as Stan. More to follow later. And Carol Hillman, who is the reason that I'm here today. She nominated me. I have many reasons to be thankful for her, but most of all right now, I'm thankful that she's coming after me in the program because she's an impossible act to follow. And she's always several steps ahead of me, and that's where I always want to keep her. It's taken me a long time to understand what Bank Street offers and how it continues to shape me as a person and as an educator. I'm finally figuring out that to fully understand the gifts from Bank Street, I've had to learn to pass those gifts along on my own terms. I'd like to highlight 2 of the many gifts from Bank Street that I've been working to pass along ever since. The first is children discovering the world outside the classroom, and the second is the belief that human beings can improve the society they have created, both straight from Lucy Sprague Mitchell, channeled to me by all my mentors here in this room. I want to tell the story of a year-long project in a boom and bust Connecticut River mill town called Turner's Falls, where I was brought into an elementary school that was labeled level 4, and people described the school and the students as struggling, failing, underperforming. And they brought me in with the idea that I would please boost morale and create a more positive sense of community, which was a pretty open-ended charge. Fortunately, in the building, there was a phenomenal art teacher, and since they hadn't learned how to test art yet, she had freedom to do things in her classroom, like have me in to write poetry, which I couldn't do in the reading classes because they had a scripted curriculum. So the 2 of us set up shop in her art room, and we asked children, what's special about your river town? Show us. And how does the river connect us? And with an industry that would have blown away the 19th century mill owner who founded the town, the children painted and wrote poems about rackety, bouncy canal bridges, brick factory buildings, eagles' nests where trees reached to the sky, and the Shady Glen Diner on the river where the best strawberry ice cream in the world was served. And what really sparked their imagination and indignation was finding out about the trash that people throw in their river. Shopping carts, barbecue grills, sofas, and toasters. They were so shocked by this that they ended up creating many books, including The Fish in the Polka Dot Dress, about trash in the river from the point of view of the creatures who live there. And as fast as they created, we published and showcased their work in the school and in the community. We got ISBN numbers so their books could circulate in the public libraries, greeting cards for sale in the bookstores that they'd created. And as one principal said, they were telling a story that only children can tell. I think that they surprised everyone with their joyful vision of the river town and the exuberance of their capacities. And in May of that year, towards the end of the year-long project, a 3rd grade boy with a pale face and kind of a quirky sense of humor asked to meet with the principal. And she agreed, and Wyatt went into her office and said, I have a way to improve your ratings. She was taken aback, but mind you, this was a failing school, so she would take any help she should get. So she said, well, Wyatt, what do you have in mind? And he said, I think we need to have a parade down to the river. to thank the river for everything it's done for us this year. Well, she thought that was a pretty good idea, so he went on to his second request, which was that they would give pennies from the readathon to the people who were in charge of cleaning up that river. And she thought that was a great idea. And the last request, demand, was that there be popsicles served at the gathering, because he pictured it being a hot day in June down by the river. So the children had learned to pass along the gift of the river on their own terms, a parade, pennies, and popsicles. At that gathering, with their huge banners and the T-shirts they'd painted, they marched through the town down to the river, and the local television station came out and interviewed children with the question, what does it mean to be a friend of the river? And with popsicles dripping down their faces, most of them said, taking trash out of the river, swimming in the river. One little first grader, Maddie, actually took the popsicle out of her mouth to respond and said, carefully, she said, you can ask all kinds of questions from it, but it's not like a person or anything. It's like a thank you thing. The river's like a present to us. So borrowing Maddie's words, I feel like Bank Street is like a thank you thing, a present to us. It's taken me 30 years to figure out what those children understood in 1 year, which is that passing a gift along is what makes it transformative. And like the river, Bank Street's gifts keep moving. So I was asked to give an acceptance speech tonight, but I realized that the honor is not about receiving, but learning to pass along the gifts from Bank Street that I have been given. Celebrating children's capacities, connecting them to the outside world, and believing that they and all of us can make a difference. Thank you.